Discover the incredible moment at my daughter's wedding. An unexpected fall revealed amazing love. The sun peeked through the clouds on Sarah's wedding day, casting a warm glow over the garden adorned with flowers and twinkling fairy lights. Guests buzzed with excitement, and her heart raced as she prepared to walk down the aisle. But on this fairy tale day, fate had a different script. A misstep on the uneven grass sent Sarah tumbling, collapsing into a heap of white lace and sheer panic, her parents' photographs knocking to the ground. Gasps mingled with nervous laughter as a family portrait slipped from its frame, revealing the raw emotions of their past, Sarah sharing bittersweet moments with her father during difficult times. With her cheeks flushed and pride bruised, she rose, fierce yet vulnerable. "Well, that wasn't the grand entrance I had in mind," she joked, wiping grass off her gown, igniting laughter that echoed through the crowd. This wasn't just a slip. It became an invitation to share her truth. She stood tall, her voice steady. "Today isn't just about two people. It's about love over cultural divides." As she spoke, she wove in stories of her humble beginnings, her father's tireless work to support their family, and the love that transcended their struggles. A hush fell over the crowd, hearts opening like flowers after the rain. Strangers exchanged glances, recognizing their own battles in Sarah's narrative of overcoming, each one resonating with a whisper of connection. The atmosphere crackled with a mix of introspection and camaraderie, a moment they won't soon forget. Before the emotions settled, the crowd gasped again. A familiar face appeared: Mr. Thompson, their former neighbor, who once helped when they faced financial hardship, and his presence unraveled waves of nostalgia. He shared that night. He lent Sarah's father money with a twinkle in his eye, a reminder of the bonds that tie communities in silent ways. Stories poured forth, revealing generous deeds long buried in memories, but resurfacing like echoes of love that had shaped their journey. The guests nodded, some dabbing at tears. Sarah's father, arms crossed, watched intently, wrestling with a storm of concerns about Jake's wealthy family and their growing differences. The tension hung in the air until he stepped forward, conflicted, yet hopeful. He clasped Jake's hand. "I may never fully understand the world you come from," he said, his voice heavy, "but I see how my daughter looks at you. And that matters." Applause erupted, hundreds of tiny bursts of hope filling the garden. But as the clapping faded, so did the comfort of that moment. What would it mean for their families to truly unite? Could love alone bridge the vast divide between privilege and perseverance? As the sun began to set, casting long shadows, an ache lingered in the air. The undisputed question of their future remained unanswered. What lay ahead for Sarah and Jake? Would they navigate the complexities of life intertwined with contrasting values? The story was just beginning, and the heartfelt connections made today stirred the excitement of an uncertain tomorrow. As the sun dipped below the horizon, enveloping the garden in hues of orange and purple, Sarah finally caught Jake's eye from across the sea of faces. In that glance, there was unspoken understanding, a promise that, despite their very different worlds, they would rise together. Her heart swelled with a mix of hope and fear. What if love wasn't enough? The guests began to settle down, but the energy from earlier clung to the air, tangible and electric. As the newlyweds returned to the altar, they exchanged whispered words, a momentary shield against the uncertainty swirling around them. "Did you see the way everyone reacted?" Jake asked softly, a smile lifting his lips. "You turned a fall into a celebration of honesty." Sarah chuckled, feeling lighter even as doubts loomed. "Yeah, who knew my clumsiness would spark such a connection?" But beneath her laughter, the weight of their reality lingered. Her father was still watching, emotions refracting through his eyes like a prism. A silent conversation swirled in the air, the patriarch of a hard-working family weighing the stakes of their union against the rich background Jake came from. As the wedding music resumed, Sarah took a deep breath, the sweet notes washing over her. The moment called for a dance, a joyful celebration of love despite the uncertainties. She and Jake joined hands, stepping out onto the wooden dance floor. His warmth enveloped her, grounding her spirit. All around them, guests cheered, many still wiping away tears, ready to embrace this union. The first song played, a sweet ballad that spoke about resilience, of sticking together no matter the odds. As they swayed, Sarah whispered, "Do you think they'll accept us?" His gaze softened, and he squeezed her hand. "We'll show them how love can bridge any divide. Just take my lead." And so they danced, a rhythm of whispered promises and shared fears, leaning into each other as they twirled beneath soft, twinkling lights. For a moment, all that existed was the music, the laughter of their loved ones, and the bond they were forging. The wedding party kicked off, filled with heartfelt speeches and joyous laughter, but Sarah sensed her father's lingering concern. It gnawed at her. Later, as people toasted to the couple, she caught snippets of conversations that twisted in her gut. Can love really conquer this? One guest asked. What happens when the shine wears off? Sarah's heart raced. It was one thing to stand boldly in front of their community today, but could she sustain that courage through the trials of tomorrow? With each clink of the glasses, the echoes of doubt bounced around her mind. She dared a glance at her father again. He remained stoic, but increasingly distant. Would he ever truly embrace this new family? As she lost herself in the moment, enveloped by music and joy, she couldn't shake the feeling that the true test was yet to come. The band began a fast-paced song, and laughter erupted as guests whirled about. But Sarah stood still for just a moment, eyes scanning the crowd. Something caught her gaze, the old family portrait lying forgotten on the edge of the dance floor, a poignant reminder of the trials they had all faced. In that instant, everything seemed to hang in the balance. Would the ties of the past sever, or would they bind them tighter than ever? Before she could delve deeper into her thoughts, a commotion erupted at the edge of the tent. Whispers turned into gasps, and Sarah turned instinctively, her heart pounding. Was it someone she knew? In that heartbeat of suspense, she braced for whatever revelation awaited her next, one that could alter the course of their new life together. The crowd parted like waves, revealing a figure standing awkwardly at the edge of the dance floor. Sarah's breath hitched as she recognized the person. It was her estranged brother, Mike. The last time they had spoken was during a family argument, the kind that left scars. A mix of surprise and dread coursed through her veins. "What is he doing here?" she whispered, barely audible over the music and laughter. Jake felt her stiffen beside him. "You okay?" he asked, concern etching his features. Before she could respond, Mike stepped forward, his face a canvas of conflicting emotions. The laughter around them faded to a murmur, and all eyes turned toward the unexpected guest. The joyful celebration shifted into a tense, collective silence. Mike took a deep breath, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "Sarah," he started, his voice shaky. "I had to come." Her throat tightened. "Why now?" Memories of their last conversation flooded her mind, the hurtful words, the anger, and the rift that had grown between them. Could he really just walk back into her life like this? "I didn't want to miss the chance to see you, to see your happiness," he continued, his gaze drifting to Jake. "I'm sorry for everything. I know things are complicated, but I miss you." As Mike spoke, emotions rippled through the assembled guests. Sarah's father's expression turned even more inscrutable, shadows passing over his face. Would he ever reconcile with the brother who had left the family when they needed him most? Jake's grip on Sarah's hand tightened like a lifeline, his presence an anchor amidst the swirling emotions. The music faded into the background, each word Mike spoke drawing her deeper into a whirlpool of memories and decisions. I wanted to be here for you on your special day," Mike said, tears threatening to spill. "I know I messed up, but I'm trying to change. I don't want to lose you again." The ache in Sarah's chest grew heavier. Could forgiveness bloom alongside this new love she'd just found? As she stared at her brother, she saw the flicker of vulnerability in his eyes mirrored her own doubts. Could this be the moment they finally began to mend the broken pieces? The silence stretched, and the room held its breath. Her father's gaze bore into her, filled with questions. Should she welcome Mike back into her life, or protect the family she was now forging with Jake? Jake, sensing her internal struggle, raised their joined hands a bit higher, silently reassuring her that he was there no matter what decision she made. "Sarah?" Mike prompted, his voice barely above a whisper now. 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind, each tugging at her heart. Love had brought her and Jake together, but what about the ties of family? She found herself at a crossroads, built on love but shadowed by deep-seated pain. Just as she opened her mouth to speak, the band shifted gears. A lively tune kicked in, shattering the moment of tension. Laughter erupted again, breaking the heaviness lingering in the air yet. It felt like an illusion, not touching what lay beneath the surface. Feeling the weight of her decision bearing down on her, Sarah took a step towards her brother, the beat of the music drumming in her ears. This was at the moment that could either mend or deepen the divide that had plagued their family. What if I let you back in? A chill raced through her, realizing the choice she faced. Would it be worth the risk? As she spoke, the crowd surged around them, the heavy tension shifting, leaving Sarah to grapple with the knowledge that this encounter might redefine everything about who she wanted to be, both as a daughter, sister, and wife. And as she took that leap of faith into the rawness of love because love was messy, it wasn't perfect. What would become of her decision? Would it draw her brother back into her life, or would it push him away forever? The lively tune faded into the background for Sarah, the beat of the bass matching the thunderous pounding of her heart. As she took a tentative step towards Mike, a wave of uncertainty washed over her. She could see the hope swimming in his eyes, desperately clinging to the connection they once had. Can we talk? The question hung in the air like a fragile promise. Mike nodded, his expression softening. Relief blended with a trace of fear. He took a cautious step closer, as if he might shatter the moment if he moved too quickly. I really want to, Sarah. Jake, always aware, shifted slightly. I'll be right over there, he stated, pointing to a quieter corner of the room, his face open, encouraging. Okay, Sarah managed, her voice barely above a whisper. The room swirled around her, a blur of lights and laughter that faded away as she focused solely on Mike. As they walked to the side of the dance floor, she could feel her father's gaze burning into her back. She hesitated, trying to find the words that had eluded her since Mike had stepped into her life again. Why now, Mike? After all this time? He inhaled sharply, the breath wavering in his chest. I've messed up, I know, but I've done a lot of thinking about us, about family. I want to apologize for everything. I wasn't there when you needed me. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I had to come. I'm sorry. Each word was heavy, dripping with sincerity. Sarah's heart ached, torn between wanting to embrace the brother she missed and the fear of reopening old wounds. I don't even know if I can trust you, she admitted, her voice shaky. I get it. Trust takes time, he replied, his eyes glimmering with understanding. But I want a chance to earn it back. I've changed. Tears edged Sarah's vision, blurring the bright colors of the party. She swallowed hard, caught between the life she was building with Jake and the complicated history with Mike. We fought over so much, you know? You left without saying goodbye. You don't know the hurt that caused. I can't change the past, he said softly. But I'm here now. I want to be part of your life again. A knot formed in her throat. She thought of Jake standing alone, patiently waiting, and her father watching the scene unfold, emotions playing out like an unfolding drama. Could she really do this? A part of her worried about loyalty to Jake, to her new family, and the fragility of the life she was forging. Suddenly, laughter erupted from the crowd, and Sarah felt like she was in a bubble, watching from the outside. It was loud, bright, and utterly free, contrasting sharply with the quiet storm of emotions brewing inside her. I don't want to lose what I have now, she whispered, glancing back at Jake. At that moment, Mike stepped closer, bridging the physical gap between them. I'm not here to disrupt that. I just want to show you that I can do better, that I can be the brother you deserve. It was a fragile promise. Yet, in his eyes, she saw a flicker of sincerity, a burning desire to reconnect. She wanted to believe it, to let hope seep back into her life. But then she thought of the risks and how much they had already lost. What if I open up again, and you leave for good this time? Glimmers of doubt flashed across his face. I want tea. Not again. I want to be here. I'm ready to fight for you. For us. As she stood there, the weight of her decision loomed larger than life. Did she have the strength to mend the shattered pieces of their past? With every breath, she felt the familiar ache of longing for family, for love, for healing, a blend of hope and hesitation intertwining within her. Just then, the music shifted again, bringing the celebration alive, but the internal silence remained as palpable as ever. In that heartbeat, with her heart pounding, Sarah faced the question that could change everything. Should she reach for her brother's hand, risking the precious bond she had begun to weave with Jake? or hold on to the love that was stark and present. And as Sarah's breath caught in her throat, one clear thought pierced through the noise around her. Was it too late for a second chance, or was the past finally ready to be rewritten today? The laughter grew louder as the song changed again, a lively beat reverberating through the hall, filling the air with a festive energy that felt like a bubble ready to burst. Yet for Sarah, the world around her spun slowly, each sound dulled by the whirlwind of her thoughts. She glanced back at Jake, who stood in the dim light of the corner, his eyes patiently searching for her, while her own heart wrestled between the ghosts of the past and the bright promise of the future. Mike's voice pulled her back. "Sarah, please, I know there is so much hurt between us. I can't make it disappear, but I want to give us a chance to fix what's broken," he continued, his sincerity echoing through the chaos of the party. She studied his face. The boy who had once been her mischievous brother had transformed into a man carrying a burden of regret and hope. Would it be so wrong to entertain the idea of rebuilding that connection? It felt alien, yet achingly familiar at the same time. But Jake's gaze lingered in her mind, steady and warm. They had built something precious in the time they had spent together, slowly weaving a bond that felt solid, like a well-tended garden ready to flourish. Could she risk uprooting it? "Jake means the world to me," she whispered, the truth escaping her lips as she fought against the tidal wave of fear clawing at her heart. "What if I try and it all falls apart again? I promise, I won't leave you," Mike pleaded, his voice softening. "Not this time. And I'll never come between what you have with Jake. I just want to be part of your life again. I miss you." His words hung in the air like a fragile kite, suspended between hope and despair. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her father's watchful presence and the warmth of Jake's unwavering affection wrapping around her like a protective cloak. "I just don't know how to begin," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Start with the truth," Mike suggested. "Whatever it is you feel, just tell me. I'm here to listen." Could she finally let go of the hurt that tethered her to the past? There was a flicker of impulse, a desire to reach out, to mend, to reclaim what she had lost. But geese still honked in her chest, harrowing and persistent. Suddenly, a little girl from nearby giggled, her carefree laughter cutting through the tension. For a moment, Sarah allowed herself to smile, imagining the innocence of a child not weighed down by regret or choices. It was a reminder of the joy that still thrived in unexpected moments. The thought sparked an understanding. Maybe it doesn't have to be all or nothing," she said, her resolve strengthening. "What do you mean?" Mike asked, confusion flashing across his features. "I can start small," Sarah replied, the words jumbling together in her mind as they took form. "We can talk. Just talk. We'll take it step by step. No pressure, no expectations." The rush of her decision thrilled her, overwhelming in its simplicity. She could still preserve her connection with Jake, the life they had nurtured together, while exploring this path with Mike without losing everything. Mike's eyes lit up with cautious optimism, the tension easing from his shoulders. "I do like that. Thank you, Sarah." But in the midst of her tentative hope, a knot of uncertainty remained in her stomach. Could she balance the scales of her heart, share her space with two people she loved in different ways? Jake stepped forward just then, breaking into their moment as he studied her face. "Everything okay?" he asked, concern painting his features. With just one glance at Jake, everything else faded: her brother's longing, her father's judgment, the past that threatened to pull her under, and she felt a sense of clarity settling deep within her. "Yeah, everything's okay," she replied softly, hoping her voice sounded stronger than she felt. But a lingering question crept into her thoughts. Would speaking her truth lead them all toward an even brighter future, or unravel the delicate ties holding their lives together? As the pulse of the party drummed in the background, Sarah felt both hopeful and terrified of where this road would lead. Would the fragility of her past become a source of strength now? With the music swelling again, she prepared for whatever came next, ready to embrace the complexity of her life anew. The lights flickered as Sarah took a step back from Mike, feeling the weight of the night settle around her. The laughter and joyous chatter continued to swirl, a vibrant backdrop to her tangled emotions. She turned to Jake, his face illuminated by the twinkling fairy lights that hung overhead. His brow was slightly furrowed, as if he could sense the storm brewing inside her. "Want to dance?" he asked, his voice smooth and inviting. For a brief moment, she hesitated. Memories of their summer dances, filled with laughter and stolen kisses, battled with the uncertainty of her current situation. But Jake's effortless smile tugged at her heart. "Yes," she replied, grateful for the distraction that as they stepped onto the dance floor. The music shifted to something softer, a slow ballad that wrapped around them like a warm embrace. Jake pulled her close, his hands resting gently on her back. Their bodies swayed together, and Sarah couldn't help but lean into him, feeling his steady heartbeat beneath her cheek. But there was a nagging pull at the edges of her consciousness, a reminder that every step forward felt weighed down by choices she hadn't fully made yet. "Mike." The conversation still clung to her like a shadow, looming and unpredictable. "Is everything all right?" Jake whispered, sensing her distraction. "Yeah," she said, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Just thinking." "About?" He searched her face, concern etching deeper lines across his forehead. "Just about everything." The truth rushed to her tongue as her emotions surged, raw and unfiltered. "Mike and I were trying to talk again. I want to give him a chance, but I'm scared." Jake held her gaze, his expression shifting from concern to understanding. "You don't have to choose between us, you know. Just take your time." His words lined her heart with warmth, yet the fear of complicating their relationship tightened around her chest. "It's not easy, Jake. I don't want to hurt you. You won't. If anything, it shows how strong you are," he replied, brushing a wayward strand of hair behind her ear. "You don't have to carry the past alone." A swell of gratitude washed over her, mingling with the anxiety that lingered. The music crescendoed softly, a soothing balm against her racing thoughts. "What if I can't find the balance?" she confessed, her voice barely a whisper. "Then we'll figure it out together," he promised. "All of it, no matter how hard it gets." As they danced, time seemed to dissolve. But then, like a sudden pop of a balloon, reality crashed in. She spotted Mike across the room, watching them with an unreadable expression, the hint of uncertainty shadowing his eyes. It made her stomach twist. Would her decision to reconnect with him create a rift with Jake? "Your brother's looking a bit lost," Jake said, a smirk forming, though it didn't quite disguise the concern beneath. "Yeah, it's complicated," Sarah replied, her heart racing again. "Maybe you should talk to him," Jake suggested gently. Could she take that leap? Perhaps the simpler truth was that she needed clarity, for her own heart as much as for the people she loved. Taking a deep breath, Sarah stepped back, creating space between them. Jake's eyes widened in surprise. "I need to figure this out," she said. "I'll be right back." Jake nodded slowly, concern flickering across his features. She felt the weight of his gaze on her as she moved toward Mike, each step echoing with an urgency that felt both right and terrifying. "Hey," she said, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her stomach. "Hey," he replied, relief washing over his features as he stepped closer. As she stood before him, she realized they were at a crossroads, both of them trembling on the edge of something new. Would they be able to navigate through this together? Or would the fragile bonds they were trying to mend fray before they could truly begin? As the music faded into the background, Sarah could feel the eyes of the party on them, 1,000 unspoken stories waiting to unfold. In that moment, beneath the flickering lights and the laughter surrounding them, she knew she was ready to share her truth. But with every word unsaid, she wondered, could the past truly be rebuilt, or would it irreparably alter the foundations of their futures? "Can we talk?" Sarah's voice came out more fragile than intended, but she took a step closer to Mike, searching for the familiar warmth in his eyes. "Sure," he said, reluctance rippling beneath his calm exterior. "I've been wanting to talk to you too." They stepped away from the dance floor, finding a quieter corner where shadows enveloped them. The chatter and laughter faded to a dull hum as the world around them melted away. Sarah's heart raced, each beat synchronizing with the anxiety coursing through her veins. "About us," she began, her throat tightening. "I know we've had our complications." Mike rubbed the back of his neck, the light in his eyes dimming momentarily. "Complications is putting it lightly," he replied, a hint of bitterness lacing his tone. "I want to fix this," Sarah said, her voice lowering to a whisper. "I really do. But I'm scared and confused." She cast a glance at Jake, who was being pulled into conversation by one of their friends. It irked her how quickly he had slipped back into the crowd, free from the weight she carried. I get it, Mike sighed, a heaviness settling on his shoulders. We broke something, Sarah. It takes time to mend. I know, she said quickly, desperation creeping in. I'm just afraid I'm making the wrong choices. You were an important part of my life, still are. But, he prompted, leaning in with a fierceness that made her stomach flutter. But I'm also with Jake, she finished. Saying his name felt like a declaration of war, provoking old feelings at the surface. Are you happy with him? Mike asked, his tone dropping, vulnerability lacing through the question. That's the thing, she said, pushing her fingers through her hair. I am. He makes me laugh, he makes me feel safe. But there's this part of my heart that she hesitated, searching for the right words, that's still tied to you. Silence stretched between them, thick and fraught with unspoken words. Mike glanced away, lost in thought, his jaw clenched and muscles taut. That part of your heart. It doesn't mean you have to go back, he said finally, his voice almost gentle. I don't want to be the reason you end up hurting Jake. But I also can't pretend that what we had didn't mean anything. The truth of his words struck her like a thunderclap. She wanted to tell him that yes, they shared something real and undeniable. The laughter and the secrets, the plans for a future flashes of memories danced in her mind like fireflies. But that warmth was clouded by the reality of time and choices that felt too big for her. Could we start over? She proposed, her heart racing at the sound of her own words. Just as friends? Maybe we can rebuild from there? Mike's expression softened, uncertainty mingling with hope. I'd like that, he said slowly, the relief evident in the way his shoulders lowered. But it's going to take work, to find a way to be okay again. The flicker of a smile crossed Sarah's lips, a fragile thing, but it was a start. Yeah, I know, but I'm willing to try if you are. Just as she thought they were beginning to find a rhythm in their conversation, a sudden laugh erupted from Jake, ricocheting through her thoughts. It was infectious, filled with the kind of warmth that made her legs waver. Would Jake understand this new direction with Mike? The knot in her gut twisted tighter. Hey, can we not have them find out yet? Sarah asked, glancing over her shoulder again. I need a moment to process this. Of course, Mike agreed, though his expression suggested he feared the complexity that lay ahead. As they turned to leave their corner, she found Jake approaching with that contagious brightness she adored. He might be the one representing her present, while Mike was the echo of a crucial past. The tangled paths ahead felt daunting, but perhaps, in the end, they could both find their place in her heart. Hey, everything okay? Jake asked, genuine concern flickering in his eyes. Yeah, just sorting things out, she replied, forcing a smile, though her heart was still a whirlwind. All right then, he said, smiling back, oblivious to the emotional chaos churning behind her facade. As Jake wrapped his arm around her waist, she couldn't shake the feeling that choice loomed larger than ever. Would this attempt to connect with Mike deepen the cracks between her and Jake? The music surged back to life, a distant echo of hope and uncertainty intertwining. Yet despite everything, one truth emerged in her heart. Nothing about love was ever simple. The deeper she ventured into these relationships, the more she realized she was beginning to rewrite her story. But would it be a story worth telling in the end? Sarah felt the warmth of Jake's arm around her, but it only heightened the chill deep in her heart. As she swayed slightly to the rhythm of the music, her mind swirled with images of Mike and the past they shared. How could she even think about being friends with him while she was with Jake? It felt like walking a tightrope, the ground below shrouded in a thick fog. Are you still with me? Jake's voice jolted her back to the present, his brow furrowed in concern. Of course, she said too quickly, forcing a smile. She caught a glimpse of Mike in the distance, laughter dancing on his lips with a female friend. Jealousy flared momentarily, but she shook it off. She had made her choice, hadn't she? As they danced, she leaned her head against Jake's shoulder, hoping the closeness would ground her. I just needed to clear my head a little, she murmured, still feeling the weight of her conversation with Mike. I get it. Things have been chaotic lately, Jake said, squeezing her waist a bit tighter. But I'm here for you, no matter what. The sincerity in his voice brought a warmth she cherished, yet it felt overshadowed by the shadows of her past with Mike. Was she being fair? To Jake? To herself? The music shifted to something softer, and Jake pulled away just a bit to look into her eyes. You know, I've been thinking about us, he said, a hint of hesitation creeping in. Whenever you're ready, I want to take this to the next level. I want to be more than just your boyfriend. I want to be your partner. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. His words cascaded over her like a wave of cold water. Was she truly ready to commit? Could she give her heart completely to Jake knowing Mike still lingered in some hidden corner of it? Wow, that's a big step, she replied, her voice trembling with uncertainty. I know it is, Jake said earnestly. But I think it's time, don't you? I want to build a life together, Sarah. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes. She adored Jake. He was steady and caring. But the thought of moving further while carrying the weight of her feelings for Mike felt like trying to run a marathon with a boulder strapped to her back. Can we talk about this later? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I just need some time to think. Sure, Jake said, masking his disappointment with understanding. But she could see the light dimming in his eyes, a flicker of hurt that stabbed through her. The music crescendoed, and Sarah tried to focus on the present moment, but her heart split under the pressure of the choices ahead. She was juggling two worlds, one with the promise of a safe and loving future, and another that tugged at her soul, urging her to reignite a spark that had never truly faded. Feeling suffocated by the mounting tension, she excused herself and stepped outside into the cool night air. It calmed her racing pulse, and the stars above twinkled like a million tiny eyes watching, waiting for her next move. A few breaths later, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned and found Mike standing there, uncertainty etched across his face. Hey, he said softly, a reminder of their earlier conversation lingering in the air between them. Hey, she breathed, heart thumping again, unsure if with excitement or dread. Do you want to talk a little more? He asked, the vulnerability in his expression pulling at her. Could she really dive deeper into their connection, all while knowing Jake was back inside, oblivious to her emotional turmoil? The night stretched before her, a path she had yet to choose. Maybe we should, she replied, each word tasting like a risk. Mike stepped closer, the tension thickening as the air crackled with unspoken possibilities. Let us figure this out together, he said, searching her eyes, as if they held the answer to everything. What had she just agreed to? Were they truly ready to unravel the threads of their past? As she caught her breath, a fear clawed at her gut. Was she about to walk into deeper chaos, or was this simply the beginning of her true story? The decision weighed heavily, but she knew one thing. She couldn't keep pretending everything was simple, and the truth was staring her right in the face. Which path would she take? The chill of the night air contrasted sharply with the warmth radiating from Mike's gaze. Sarah felt an avalanche of emotions tumbling inside her. It was surreal, standing there with him again, the man who once meant everything to her. As their eyes locked, it was as if the noise of the world melted away, leaving only the two of them adrift in a sea of memories. Sarah, I've missed this us, Mike said, his voice a mix of nostalgia and longing. I never wanted to lose you. I thought about you every day. Her heart twisted painfully. Words flowed like a river, yet none of them felt right. But we ended things for a reason, Mike. She felt the weight of the past settle on her shoulders, a reminder of the hurt that had transpired. Things change, don't they? He took a step closer, his breath catching slightly. I've changed. I've realized what I lost. Sarah's thoughts raced. Jake's sincerity, his warmth, contrasted sharply with the raw emotions Mike stirred in her. Could she truly separate the smoky remnants of their love from the real, tangible connection she felt with Jake? What do you want from me, Mike? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper, as if afraid the wind would carry her words away. I want to understand what happened between us. I want to see if we can find our way back. His eyes shimmered with intensity, igniting a flicker of hope, but also a torrent of confusion. The stars twinkled above, almost mocking her helplessness as she weighed her options. Was it possible to reconnect? To discover if their history still had a place in the present? Or was she about to step off the edge into uncertainty, abandoning the safety of Jake's love? Just then, the laughter from the party inside reached her ears, a joyful echo that seemed to pull her back. She couldn't shake the image of Jake's face, the disappointment, the hurt that hadn't gone unnoticed. All of it made her insides twist with guilt. I don't know if I can go back to that. To you, she finally confessed, her heart squeezing with every word. I understand, Mike replied, his posture softening, yet determination lingered in his tone. But think about what we had. What we could have again. Every instinct in her screamed that she had unfinished business with Mike, but the other half of her heart ached for Jake, his kindness and stability pulling her in another direction. I can't keep doing this, Sarah said, shaking her head. I need to figure out what I want, if I can commit fully to Jake or if I should explore what is left with you. She felt raw and exposed, like a wound freshly opened. A moment of silence stretched between them, heavy with all that had been said and all that was still unsaid. Take your time, Mike finally said, his voice steady. But just remember, I'm here. I always have been. As he stepped back, the air thickened with unexpressed longing. At that moment, Sarah felt like she was teetering on the edge of a cliff. One step could send her tumbling down into chaos. The night was silent except for the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze, her heart racing with conflicting desires. She had two paths now, one paved with the beckoning shadows of the past, and the other with the light of an uncertain but promising future. Sarah? A voice broke her reverie. Jake stood framed in the doorway, concern wrinkling his brow. What was she supposed to say? Would she let the past cloud her judgment, or would she choose to walk into tomorrow with Jake? Tonight was about choices, and as Sarah stood between them, the weight of her heart felt heavier than ever. Could she dare to face these feelings head-on, or was she about to lose something beautiful to chase a shadow? The question loomed larger than the bright moon above. The air was thick, charged with the unspoken as Sarah stood at the crossroads of her heart. She glanced at Mike, who looked both hopeful and pained, then back to Jake, his concern palpable in the night's hushed embrace. There she was holding two worlds in her hands, wondering if either had the power to carry her forward. Sarah. Jake's voice cut through the tension, pulling her into the present. His expression softened as he stepped closer, yet the distance that hung between them felt monumental. Jake, can we talk? Her voice trembled slightly, and she felt the weight of his gaze, unyielding and sincere. He nodded, tension easing between them. Of course. Anywhere you want. They moved to a quiet corner of the yard, under twinkling fairy lights that seemed to glow just for them. The music from the party was a distant hum, almost like a heartbeat, a reminder of what waited behind them. Look, I know it's been a whirlwind today, she began, her heart racing faster than ever. And I don't want to hurt you, but I need you to know Mike showed up, and it stirred up so much. Jake met her eyes, his brow furrowing in concern. You don't have to explain everything now. It's okay. I do, Jake. I really do. She took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage. I just have had a lot of unresolved feelings. I want to figure it out. I need to know if my past is worth revisiting or if my future with you is truly where I belong. Sarah, he started, voice steady but filled with a weight. Life gets complicated, and love is messy. You're allowed to explore your feelings. Just know whatever you choose, I just want you to be happy. His understanding was like a balm, soothing her frayed nerves. Yet the heaviness in her chest almost stole her ability to breathe. But what if I can't figure it out? What if I break things more than they already are? We can't know it all right now. Jake's eyes were filled with a depth that anchored her. Just be honest with yourself. Follow your heart, and it will lead you where you need to go. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, warming her cheeks. How could she feel so loved and so utterly terrified at the same time? She didn't deserve this kindness. Suddenly, she sensed movement behind her. Mike had approached, the uncertainty in his eyes matching the warmth beginning to unfold between her and Jake. Hey, he said, looking from one to the other. I didn't mean to interrupt. Just having a moment, Sarah said softly, the tension thick in the air. She realized that Mike standing there, despite the chaos of emotions he stirred, was a part of her journey toward understanding. Mike took a breath, clearly trying to gauge the atmosphere. I know this is all confusing, he began, focusing on Sarah, but I'm willing to be patient. I just want a chance to make things right. At those words, something shifted within her. Perhaps patience was the key, understanding that she didn't have to rush toward decision-making. They could take this one step at a time. Maybe we can all sit down and talk, she suggested. Work through this together. I don't want to create chaos. I just want clarity for myself and for you both. Jake nodded, his gaze unwavering. I think that's wise. It's all tangled right now, but we can figure it out. Mike's expression changed, relief flooding across his face. It means a lot to me, Sarah. The air felt lighter, the weight of her fears slowly lifting. The three of them stood there for a moment, surrounded by the hum of laughter and music, sensing they were at the beginning of a new chapter. Let us all gather next week, Sarah suggested, her voice growing steadier. We can each share our thoughts without the pressure of a party. Away from all this noise. Yeah, issued from Jake as he stepped closer to her, his warmth reassuring. Let us sit down as a family. Family, Sarah repeated, feeling the words settle into her heart, a reminder of what love really meant. Connection, understanding, and a willingness to be vulnerable. As she looked between the two men in her life, she felt a sense of calm wash over her. The sun dipped below the horizon, and in that faded glow, she realized it was okay to not have all the answers immediately. There would be time. Thank you for being understanding, she murmured, feeling the weight of their bond both past and present. The night was wide open, and with it came the promise of hope and healing. As they turned together, laughter floated through the air again, and Sarah couldn't help but feel the warmth of possibility igniting within her. Whatever lay ahead, she knew she'd be ready to face it, surrounded by love, honesty, and a chance for rebirth. Now was the moment to embrace her truth. Don't wait, not even one more second to share. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and comment your reactions and feelings about how love can transform lives. If this story touched your heart, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support.